This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at PlaceToBeNation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
When you're a dad in this crazy world, you give everything you can. Gee, it'd be great if there were some pals that could lend a helping hand. Now there's a show where you can go. It's a place to grow. It's DadCast, talking about our kids. DadCast, and all of the stuff they did. DadCast, so great to have a friend. DadCast, on PTBN.
Place to Be Nation, it's been 2 years, but we're back on the DadCast. 2 years is a long time, Don.
It's a very long time. When you told me it was August...
No, April.
I'm sorry, April 2017. I knew we've been away from this for a while, but I did not think it was 2 years, so I'm ready to get going. Lots to talk about. Our kids are obviously 2 years older.
Yes, that's the crazy part. I feel like it's the most dad thing ever, too, that we've put this off. It's been like 2 years since we've had time to sit down together and do this. Obviously, we've hung out, probably dozens of times in those 2 years, but I guess more than, I don't know, what do you think, dozens?
Many times.
Since then, but we've just not had the time to sit down. I think we've had plenty of material, I'm sure, and I'm actually kicking myself for not taking notes over the last 2 years. But yeah, so we've aged 2 years. We've probably aged more than the kids have.
And this is therapeutic. That's why I'm also I'm surprised we have not been able to, find the time. But this is what fatherhood is, and it eats away. Again, I wouldn't change anything in this, but we've talked many times, what did we used to do before this? And where did all the time go during that time? Because it's crazy.
And I feel like it's the, whatever. It's been a while. So for those that may be new to the show, since it has been 2 years, and we picked up new listeners probably at Place to Be Nation on our feeds, we've done 3 episodes in the past, and you should check them out. Our first one was our critically acclaimed Paw Patrol episode. That kind of ignited this whole thing, and that's where we went through and we live watched an episode of Paw Patrol. We broke down the world of Paw Patrol and got some good feedback, and that's what kind of made this a series. Versus originally my idea was just kind of a whatever, just hot blast on random TV shows we were gonna do. And Paw Patrol was one of them. And
I think in those 2 years, Paw Patrol is really, it still existed in my house with my younger one, but my older one who was into it. Watches sporadically, as we'll talk about tonight, there are all of these new shows, constant opportunities on Netflix and Nick and whatever. It's 10 times more than we had when we were their age.
Oh, for sure. So yeah, Paw Patrol's faded here too, although we went to New York City last week and we went to I guess it's new FAO Schwartz, it's kind of the revamped one at Rockefeller Center. And they have a whole floor of Paw Patrol. Oh. So it was really interesting. It was when I tell you it was the whole floor, it was when we used to go to Toys R Us as a kid and aisles would be dedicated to something.
Yes.
It was a G.I. Joe. It was wall to wall G.I. Joe or whatever. Yep. This was literally it was just everywhere. They even had a huge TV with Paw Patrol episodes on. So it was Paw Patrol Mania. But no, it's faded here too. My kids very rarely watch it.
Do they have anything for Mayor Goodway there?
She was there shaking hands.
Was she really? They had somebody dressed up? Did they have somebody dressed? That's what I thought you were. Oh, you had me going for a second.
No. So episode 2, we were joined by Jordan and Duncan, and we ranked the Disney princesses and movies, princess-based movies. So that was an interesting topic. And then episode 3, we kind of did a potpourri of just random dad stuff, including a talk about Blippi. And I'll be honest with you, so there are 2 catalysts that maybe reach out to you to say we should do this show again. So I knew you were coming over tonight to hang out. We had already planned that. When we did the Veep podcast a couple weeks ago, it was we enjoy doing this stuff together. We should get back to what we were doing.
Absolutely.
And then a friend of mine on Facebook posted something about Blippi. And asked, does anyone else know of Blippi? And I'm yeah, here's a podcast I did where we talked about Blippi. And it was like good timing. So that's when I messaged you. I was like, we should just do DadCast on Friday when we hang out.
And here we are.
And I don't think we'll get Julia Louis-Dreyfus retweeting us, but perhaps we'll get, what's the guy's name from the show we're watching here? Maybe Brian Stepanek will retweet us here. All right, so to set the backdrop, and then we're going to get into kind of what delayed your arrival here tonight. We are watching an episode, live watching an episode of Nicky, Ricky, Dicky, and Dawn from Nickelodeon. And I picked this because, and I think it's always good to have like a kid show in the background as we're doing this show.
Sure.
I picked this one because it's evolved from 2 years ago, whereas it was a lot of Paw Patrol in my house. This has been like the show for the last few months. It's come and gone, but I think it's because my daughter like binged through them all. And amazingly enough, Don, there have been 4 seasons so far. And there are like 80 episodes of this fucking show. Somehow I always catch the same 2, I feel like, when I walk in the room. 82 episodes across 4 seasons. And so this was kind of like the big show, along with Liv and Maddie, which is like the other one my daughter's really into. So those 2 are ones that she's been watching. So I wanted to like just have it on the background. So you've never seen this show.
No, my kids are still into, the cartoons, that type of animation. That's like the Pixar. I don't know what that one's called, but that all these things on Netflix that just keep popping up.
Right.
Periodically they'll put on one of these live shows. I don't think this one has ever come across my television. I think I would have known. But just give it time.
They watch Trolls, the Troll show.
Yes, my youngest Amelia watches Trolls, and Gianna, I think, binged the entire series of this show on Netflix called Dino Trucks, which is basically like the Transformers for this generation. Not bad. I've watched a couple.
Have you seen the show there with the Beatles music?
Oh yeah, Beat Bugs.
Is that what a Beat Bugs?
Beat Bugs.
It was an interesting one. I walked in one day and she had it on. I was like, "What the fuck are you watching?" It's like Beatles music.
Amelia actually had the book and the little guitar that played like about 6 of the Beatles songs when she was younger.
Right.
I think even at like 1. She's gonna be 3 in June. So they watched that a few times as well. Netflix is just saturated.
Oh, there's so much on there.
It's actually a little stressful just to see, even for like my shows that I watch.
Right.
There's just too much. There's just too much there at our disposal. But I feel like for these kids, they can just get right in. They know how to sign in to Netflix. Just click it, resume play wherever you were. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I mean, this like my daughter, she'll still watch animated stuff. Like tonight, she was watching the Boss Baby show on Netflix. And that she chose that on her own. My son had passed out cold. But you know what really led to a lot of the, I think, more real like the real life shows, not cartoons, is when we got Alexa. We have the video Alexa in our kitchen. Mm-hmm. So, and Hulu is connected to that, and it's kind of like one of the only things you can watch like shows on through there. So they would just start Alexa, which I should be quiet. I think it's Alexa in the room, so she's going to be listening to us. They would ask to put Hulu on, and they would just explore. And I think that might have been how she discovered the show. So she binged a ton, and we would just the theme song would just be in our head because she'd be listening like right in the kitchen to it, while we're doing stuff. And it's just like fucking Nicky and Ricky, and it's funny because she likes it when the ones with the younger, now that they've kind of aged a little bit more.
Yeah.
So the premise of the show is they're quadruplets, 3 boys and a girl, obviously Nicky, Ricky, Dicky, and Dawn, and they have the tropes, right? They got the dumb one. They get the nerdy, smart one. They got kind of like the quirky. I don't want to say he's cool. He's just more like kind of quirky. He's like into cooking and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then they get the girl, of course, the daughter. Yep. And naturally, the dad is like a goof, like a dope in every show.
Usually the parents are in these shows.
The mom is a little bit dopier than normal. I feel like a lot of these shows will have the mom be kind of more, realistic, and the dad will be an idiot. Here, they're kind of both, as you can see here. She's swiffering and dancing like a clown. So anyway, that's our backdrop for tonight. We can talk about it more in a bit when we get into TV. But
this is bad.
So when it looks like they're doing like a Ghostbusters type thing. So when I asked you to do this show tonight,
yes,
I texted you and I said our fans are clamoring. Some of our groupies call it DadCast. I should let you know. So a lot of fans were looking forward to DadCast. I think we may have a convention someday, like the DadCast convention. And be kind of hot. All right. So anyway, you were delayed getting here. I had produced dinner, and you were picking us up ice cream, and you had joked it sounded like a teenage sleepover because we may play Wii later.
Yes.
And it was, you live like 10 minutes from me, And from when you texted me that you were leaving your house until you got here, it was like 45 minutes.
Yes.
But you also left later than you wanted to because it was a fiasco at your house, correct?
Yes, I can go right into this whole story.
Yeah, talk about that.
Well, as you know, my oldest had her softball game tonight. I thought I was going to have to initially go there, and then my wife Michelle was going to take, Amelia, my youngest, back home. Once the softball game was over, I'd bring Gianna back, and then I'd head to your house. So then I text you, and I said, Michelle's going to take both kids. This is great. I'll run and get the ice cream because you wanted me to pick up ice cream tonight.
I felt like ice cream. It's Friday night.
Yep, I was excited for it as well. So I probably should have, text you back to kind of give you the updates, but obviously that didn't happen because right as they were getting ready to leave for softball, my 2-year-old threw a tantrum. And usually it's for the most ridiculous reasons. It started with, my wife wanting to get her to go on the potty before they left. She didn't want to do it. So, throwing a tantrum about that. And then she comes up the stairs with the pull-up.
Can I pause on that?
Yeah, please.
What is the problem with them not wanting to piss? Like, it is like the best feeling in the world to take a leak. And like, they will, I mean, it literally takes like 20 seconds to pee. I mean, it is the quickest possible thing, especially them.
Correct.
Because their bladders are so small. Like, my son literally pees in like 7 seconds. And it's like, that 7 seconds, you would think you were putting him into a fucking torture chamber. I'm like, I am trying to help you feel good. I'm not trying to make you clean up.
Yep.
I'm not trying to make you run a fucking marathon. I'm not trying to make you eat something you don't want to eat. I literally want you to have one of the best feelings you could possibly have.
Absolutely. And I
without
totally agree with
pissing
you
on
there.
yourself.
Yes. And she just started, potty training maybe about a month and a half ago, and it's been going well. She usually doesn't give me any problems, but because she was already in that mindset, this was going to be the big problem. So she somehow navigated herself downstairs during all of this. I walk down the hallway, and then she's coming back up, and her pull-up is down around her ankles. So she's walking around with her bare ass hanging out, and I'm like, she's going to piss all over the floor. Still, getting upset about stuff. So I put her in a room. The gate was there, and because Michelle was saying, you have to pee before we go. Otherwise, you're going to have to go into the really dirty bathroom. Do you want to go on? So I have been in those bathrooms. They are pretty disgusting. So Michelle actually said to her, if you don't do that, do you want to, you want to actually go on a dirty toilet? And Amelia was like, yes. So again, she's just going to say that
idiots.
They can be such,
stupid.
they can be awful sometimes. And it's just going to be the complete opposite because that's what she does when she gets into this mindset.
Right.
So obviously they weren't taking her. This, kind of altered my plans a little bit. And after they left, it was just like a full blown, meltdown from her. I was getting irritated and I got her ready for bed. This was like 6 o'clock. I said, you're going to go into your bed. This is it. I'm done with you for the evening. I can't physically and mentally do it anymore. And I put her in there. She actually started to calm down, and probably within 5 minutes, she had fallen asleep. So I had to wait till they got home. And then, it was probably around a little bit after, 8 o'clock. Then I went, had to get gas, had to get the ice cream, had to wait in the line, come back the opposite way. And this is why I got here at 8:40 and had to nuke my steak after you. It was very good, by the way. But, it's one of those things that sometimes the kids, and I think since I've had kids, I'm constantly late. I am now labeled as one of those people, and it's something that I actually despise because I usually feel like I'm punctual. And it's one of those, you got to give an extra 20 minutes just to get out of the fucking house.
Yeah, it gets a little bit better. As my son he's 4 now, so he'll move a little bit better. My daughter's self-sufficient for most of this stuff, which is nice. By 7, they're pretty much you can just tell her what to do, as and they'll do it. So there's not as much hand holding. But it's the stupidity that gets me. It's these simple things. You're smart. They're smart. It's just think it through for a minute and just just shut up and clean the thing, and then you can go do what you want, or just go pee in the toilet. And you don't have to sit in a puddle of piss.
Yeah, and that's where the tantrums escalated. And it even started when I picked her up this afternoon around 3:45. It started when I asked my oldest to grab her cup at the playground where I was getting her. And Gianna went to grab the cup, and then Amelia started, no, I want to grab it. And it was almost actually into a full-blown meltdown. And then we got to the car. I got Gianna in, and I walked around to the other side, and Amelia looks at me now, and she puts her hand up. She's like, no, stop. I want to do it. Just these things that it's And it just kind of was started in that afternoon at 3:45 and just really didn't let up in terms of the complaining, the whining.
Complaining is the worst.
It's
so fucking annoying.
She's just irrational.
Yeah.
Sometimes. And there's just no getting through to her. And it usually starts with the most ridiculous reason, something that no one would ever get upset about, but it can derail in just an entire afternoon. Sometimes it's like even 15, like 30 minutes of just trying to negotiate with this kid. I feel like a hostage negotiator sometimes.
It is. It's bad. And it's funny with the peeing thing because with my son, he's late to it. Like he struggled with it quite a bit, and he was having a lot of accidents. And so I basically told him, like, if you're outside, you can just pee. Like, don't pee in your pants. Just like go pee behind a tree or something. So he takes that now as like an open invitation to pee anywhere outside.
Good for him.
So like we had our annual party. I think it was last year. He just peed in front of everyone in the tree. He pees in the front yard, which I try and tell him not to do. And then 2 weeks ago, we went to my cousin Lauren's son Jack's baseball game, and him and I, Alex and I playing catch or whatever. And he's like dancing. I'm like, buddy, come on, we'll go to the bathroom. Drops the pants right, like we're just out in the middle. Like I mean, everyone's around. I'm like, whatever. He just goes, but he at least goes behind the tree and he pees. But I'm like, I feel bad encouraging it, but I'm like, I just want him to pee his pants, So like, just go. But the root cause of all this, if I had to really sum it up, was stop holding your fucking piss until you gotta go. Like, just take the 30 seconds to go pee. I don't get it. I'll never get it.
But you're right. With the whole bathroom, I even think back to when Gianna, first learned, and then it was just because getting them to bed too is just one of the most arduous tasks in the world. I dread it sometimes, and we've talked actually. I know you weren't a fan of it either at those ages, but even trying to get them, we always make them go pee before bed.
Yeah, you have to.
And even sometimes, my 7-year-old, who was also very self-sufficient, will give me that problem with, no, I already went before dinner. It's like, what is the harm of trying?
Right, just go.
Because, we're going to have to clean up the accident if one occurs. But it's a frustrating aspect at night, especially when you're trying to get them in at that time because you still have a ton of other shit to do because your night's not over.
Right. And he's a lying son of a bitch. Like, he'll say he went.
Oh.
I'm like, why are you lying? Like, why are you saying you went? He's like, I went. They get so angry. And I'm like,
yep.
What is your problem? So stop me if I've told the story. Maybe it was 2 years ago, so who knows? It might have been on the potpourri episode. I don't think I've told this one, though, because it's kind of probably something maybe I shouldn't divulge, but I will. So when my daughter was potty training, when she was, 2 or 3, we had just kind of gotten her to start going. And a family friend of ours was babysitting and giving her, she used to, like, nanny, basically, and she was giving, Juliana a bath. So in the bath, she was, like, jumping. She used to, like, kind of jump up and down and into the bath for whatever reason. And she landed on like a plastic toy, like a little boat or cup or something, and sliced inside.
Yeah, I think you told me this one.
Her parts.
Oh, jeez.
So then, of course, when she peed, it fucking burnt because she was peeing into like an open cut. So it completely reset the whole thing, and it was brutal. She was afraid to pee, and then it was miserable. I was every trick on the book. We were going to Disney. I was on the phone with Mickey. Oh, we're not coming. Like all that, all the tricks, and it didn't matter.
Develop a lot of them over the years.
So with my son, the what I've gotten to now is throwing shit away. I'll just grab a trash bag, and he is like his most prized possession are Legos. Like if you go near his, his Legos are like his life, and I've had to multiple times get the trash bag and put the Legos in the trash bag. And then tell him I'm throwing them away to get him to like stop. And like it's a douche move, but like I don't even know what else to do. Like it's the only thing he cares about is like his Legos.
And that, may I interject?
Yeah.
And that's the you talked about the douche move, and I was telling you I've been kind of going with Amelia. I'm going to put you in the man cave, and there's going to be no lights on. Right. Again, I would never do that, but I have to make her believe that I will because I'm running out of moves.
Right.
And that's the other thing I think too with kids that. Nothing sticks. And you brought up lying. And I'm glad you actually brought that up because that was something also I wanted to talk about with my oldest. She's been doing what we researched, came across in the research as lazy lying.
Right.
And it's one of those, did you go to the bathroom? No.
Right.
Yes, I did. And it's a lie because she didn't want to do it at that moment. Would have been like what? 1 minute, not even. Same with brushing of the teeth. Did you brush your hair? did you do this? Did you do that? So my wife's actually been the recipient of many of these lies because they usually happen in the morning. So we've had to deal with that, and we've taken away TV. We took away her her bike, her scooter, the things that, prized possessions. But then it keeps happening. So it's like, how do you up the ante? Because it's like these kids don't give a shit.
No.
And I think they know, like, okay, you're going to take it away, but it's really not affecting me. Okay, so what can we do? And we don't want to have to go into like the softball or the Girl Scouts, taking that stuff away. But they force your hand.
Yeah.
And they know how to play the system a little bit. So
You should try the trash thing. So it started for me after Halloween one year. I threw away all their candy that they had gotten. I mean, not the good stuff. The good stuff was, it was the crap. But still, it was to make the point.
yeah.
Because they were just they were just raging assholes. So like it was like ongoing days, and I finally just had enough and like just took the fucking bucket in front. I made them watch me, and I dumped it in the trash and put the trash outside. And I'm like, I'm throwing out your fucking candy because like my son kids was like, my daughter kids brought her sugar and like that. I mean, she's like obsessed with like treats and candy. We regulate the best we can, not to give in on it. But it's like that is like the one thing she asks for constantly. And so yeah, that was like the big one for her. Like when I threw that shit out, like that kind of got her straight and narrow. But even at that age, like autopilot, we're kind of bitching about the younger ones more. But so we went to New York last week, and she had a gift card for American Girl, and the one near us is closed. So we're like, oh, we're gonna be in New York. We'll bring the gift card, and she could buy something. You would have thought that she was picking out a fucking brand new car. I mean, we were in there for like it had to be over an hour, and she could not settle on anything. And she wanted to buy this stupidest shit, and I'm like, you're not going to use a locker for your fucking doll. You know what I mean? Like, it was like this dumb, like, and fuck American Girl too, by the way. Like, yeah, I get it.
Bad.
I get it. Like, it's cute, and they get the doll. It looks like them, like but the accessories are ridiculous. I mean, they have like a fucking farm set. Like, I mean, and the shit is expensive. Like, the bathtub is like $40. I'm like, fuck you. Like, I'll just use my bathtub. Like, I mean, it's the cost is absurd in that place, and the stuff that they sell is ridiculous. It's like, so then we had settled. Finally, I talked her into getting, because she was very into New York. That's why we went. Just the idea of New York, Statue of Liberty, and all that. Mm-hmm. So I found near the entrance a American Girl New York shirt. I'm like, why don't we just get this? I'm like, you can get a toy because we were gonna go to Lego store for my son, and then the Disney store. And I'm like, you can get something. She had money she had saved or whatever. So I'm like, you can spend that at Disney store. Just get the shirt here. Great. She's all in. What size were they missing, Don? The one fucking size that fits her, right? The small is too small. The large is too big. And I couldn't even convince her. Normally, I'm pretty good at convincing her, but she was already on such on edge about everything. I could not get her to just get the bigger one by explaining like you'll grow into it soon, and then you go. No,
nope.
She would. So then we didn't end up getting anything. We had to leave. It was because the store was closing. We had dinner reservations at Carmine's. So it was just
Very nice.
like it was just such a fiasco. And then we were there for over an hour and just did ended up with nothing.
And it comes back even to what I said before about the TV. It's with the toys. It's just this. It's too much stimulation. They can't fucking decide. And
right.
If they have the gift card, of course they want to spend it all in one shot. They can't They don't even think about, okay, let's parse some of this out.
Well, that was kind of on us there because we're here. We're not. Who knows when we'll come back to New York? And
okay, fair enough.
Online.
Yeah.
So in this one scenario, we were kind of like, let's spend it. We're here.
Yep.
But of course, she wanted the dumb stuff.
Yeah, and it even comes, when you go to a place or there's like this promise to go and do something, and I'll segue into myself here with, a story that's kind of related in the sense of like, getting upset about stuff. I told them I was going to take them to Dell's. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because my kids don't remember what I tell them in the kitchen, and by the time they get upstairs, they forget it. But when you tell them something about like a Dell's or whatever the fuck, like 2 days before, are we gonna go to Dell's today? Yeah, you promised. And I kind of I did promise, but I did like a 3-day promise. I said we'll either go, today, tomorrow, or we'll go on the weekend. We got to see. So, I was gonna take them to Dell's after I picked Amelia up. She wanted to get a Happy Meal, and Gianna had softball, so we needed to move fast because it's like this is it. I got to pick up. We got to go home. Want to quickly cut the grass, have them play outside. It's it's a very tight schedule. And I said, we're not going to do McDonald's and Dell's. We're going to pick. So one wanted this, one wanted that. And then they started fighting and screaming in the back of the car. They didn't know what the hell they wanted. And I just took everything away right at this moment because I had the control of the car, and it actually feels pretty good to have some of that power.
You also have the power to drive it into a telephone.
I do.
Don't forget not to exercise that if you need to.
But, and it's one of those things, I'm like, why am I going to do this? Because they're flipping out. And Amelia was acting up. And then she was screaming about stuff. She wasn't as bad. But then she was like, feeding the fire. That was my youngest. So I said, all right, we're going to just fucking reset this tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And I don't like taking stuff away. Again, I don't feel good about those things. But they force the hand. Sometimes it actually feels good to yell.
Right.
We were talking about that. But then I feel shitty after that. And the time I feel like I got to get this out of my system because I obviously don't do it a lot. You don't do it a lot.
Well, you got to get small wins. I mean, there's only so many ways you can affect them. So if there's like, they get a Band-Aid that needs to come off. You might give it a little tug a little hard.
Yep.
Or accidentally break the blocks they put together. Stuff like that you can get your revenge in different ways without, abuse of any kind.
But it
accidentally turn the show off, when they're watching it. Like, there's stuff you can do to get them.
And I feel like I know my kids obviously well enough. I know their schedules. I know how they're thinking at the moment. Like even tonight, when I put her in there, it was so early for her bedtime. But I'm like,
now, she's gonna sleep all night.
Probably.
Go to bed at 6.
I think so. I think tonight she will. She's actually been a better sleeper because both of my kids at the age of like 2, awful sleepers. Now that she's kind of approaching 3, she has been better. It only takes like an hour nap or so. We'll see tonight. But I had to, and like I said earlier in the podcast here. She was out within 5 minutes, and I know because she gets like overtired. She just gets again so fucking unreasonable.
Right.
Like even just some of the things like people might get laughs out of this. Just some of the things that I've said. Like when she sometimes hits us once, not a lot, once in a while, and I'd be like, "You don't hit. We never hit." I said, "Do I hit you?" And she looks at me and she goes, "Yes." And of course, like I said, "I've never hit you." Right. And then she gets into an argument with me as if she's right. And she goes, "Yes, you have." And I said, "No, I have." And here I am. I'm like, I'm 40. I'm arguing with a 2-year-old. I'm just gonna walk out of the fucking room. But it's so funny because she just argues to argue. She always has to go the opposite way that Michelle or I are thinking at the time or saying. When she gets into this kind of little funk. Because she can never admit it. She has to be the one who believes she's right. And I just find she's so fucking calculating at 2 years old. It's amazing to me.
So so you kind of segued beautifully for me because when you said the lie, which I knew is exactly where you're going about hitting you, I got a good story. So I've told this story on one of my other shows, Wrestling Warzone with Chad, but I need to tell you because you know all the players involved and different audience. Before we do that, though, I just want to really talk about what else we have going on this feed and our other feeds. PlayStation Pop feed, Talkin' Pop was back. Tim and Jenny joined by Steve and Kelly from Songs of Friends. Very special double date. Lots of interesting conversation there. Andy Atherton then welcomed Jenny into the Laugh-In Theater. They did a live watch about the iconic Dumb and Dumber, which, of course, 25 years ago came out in 1994.
Wow.
Believe it or not. Hard Traveling Fanboys had an installment of Countdown looking at Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes. And the NBA team were here to talk about the Pelicans hitting the draft lottery jackpot and what it means for the future of that franchise. Over on the PTBN Wrestling feed, in the 5th episode of Row 1, Seat 1, all about music, Ben Zanni and a gaggle of guests talk touring the country with prominent 90s bands, hardcore music, and wrestling, and of course, talk some Boston Bruins Stanley Cup as well. Chris Zellner, Devin Hales had the Money in the Bank 2019 reaction show, and then Scott Criscuolo, Nate Middleton, and Steve Willie previewed Double or Nothing on the newest main event, and of course that is tomorrow night, AEW's, I guess, first official pay-per-view, not aligned with Ring of Honor. So check all that out, plus our social media at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Bigelow34.probars.com is our message board as well. So all that said, Don, I want to say this is probably a week and a half ago now, maybe 2 weeks. As you know, the relationship with my wife and mother-in-law can be volatile at times. My mother-in-law is very emotional, and they had a little spat a few weeks ago regarding attitude when it came to babysitting and whatnot. So that was kind of behind us. We had moved past, they vented and got over it. And a week and a half ago, my mother-in-law was here. My wife was out. I think she had done something. I went to go play basketball, I want to say, and I got home, and she had watched the kids for like an extra hour, whatever. I got home. Yeah. And we're having a cordial night. Like, we're talking, we're catching up. I hadn't seen her. Everything's going well. Like, we're just, we're talking. And we go and we're sitting in the living room. And we were talking about going out in a couple weeks for my brother-in-law's 40th birthday, and potentially, or whatever it is. So, and somehow it comes up where my daughter got confused and thought we said we're going away for like 2 weeks. It was something weird, and she calls my mother-in-law Giga, and she was like, "Oh, Giga, you're staying with us for 2 weeks." And now, mind you, I don't know where she even got this from. And Giga's like, "Well, yeah, like, would that be okay?" And she was like, "No." I forgot that what was the exact word. She was like, "No." Basically, like, that would be like terrible. Well, like, it was kind of what she said. That would make me uncomfortable, I think, were her words.
This was Juliana.
Yeah,
Juliana
that's right.
Oh my god.
Now I'm thinking she's become pretty sharp ball buster. Like, she'll say shit like it's kind of ball busting, like, and have like a smirk, which she kind of did. And my mother-in-law goes, who told you that? And what do you think she said, Don? Daddy told me that. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, you fucking bitch. I'm like, no, I did not. So my mother-in-law, of course, is like, oh, okay. I'm like, I did not say that. But now it sounds like I'm lying and being defensive. Mm-hmm. I'm like, no one said that. And I'm kind of laughing.
It's a lose-lose situation, buddy.
And I'm like, I'm laughing. So now it looks like I'm lying and laughing. And I'm like, I cannot fucking believe this. So my wife gets home. And my mother-in-law, is kind of giving like a little bit of the cold shoulder. And she's like, what did I walk into? And then so she leaves. So now I'm like, what the fuck? So I text her and I'm like, look. And then Juliana was like, like, she was so upset. She was crying because she thought she screwed up. So I'm like, she's crying. And so then she calls me like to say like she's not mad at her. And then she goes into the whole thing about the fight they had and about the baby. So I'm like, she made it up. No one said anything. But it's just an example of like, they tell these fucking lies, or even if she was joking and like not realizing the awfulness that they put you in. And I'm like, but it's the same for you. Like, what if you were in public and she said, you hit her in public?
Yeah, and I've always kind of laughed that off. I'm like, she's not going to say that. And now you tell me, this freaking horror story. But like, or if she went into school and, said that, and context is everything.
Right.
And I sometimes, joke, obviously, with my kids on other things. Like, I'll make up songs with like, fart words and stuff in there because they love the toilet humor.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, I'm kind of feeding them with this. So I need to kind of stop that because they will repeat. And again, they won't give the full context of what I said. It'll never be that. And then I'll have to explain myself. That happened actually several years ago to something I said at home. Gianna went and repeated it to this other kid who, it was a long story, but I essentially, end of the day, I ended up having to write a letter to the teacher. I decided I needed to because I just wanted to be clear on, my daughter got that from me, she didn't say that on her own. Right. So that was one of those just like shit show moments of parenting, but a teachable moment for me as well.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you know what they're going to say. Like, you got to be wary too. Like, if you're fighting, if we're having an argument or whatever and she hears it, like she's told my mom before, like that, oh, mommy and daddy were fighting before we came over, like stuff like that. It's like, they're sharp and they're paying attention when you think they're not. So
yes, it's
like, you just got to watch out for stuff like that. And I mean, I don't remember ever saying anything about like not what but what I was trying to explain to my uncle was like it's a fictional scenario. Like, when would we ever talk about you staying for 2 weeks? I'm like, it's not even something that would have happened.
Yeah.
Like, she clearly was just making it up. So I was just like, ugh. But
they are sharp. And I find that too, like, obviously I don't remember back when I was that age, but my parents do. And they, and they tell the stories. They're like, just these kids, like our grandkids. Mm-hmm. And they said, especially the younger ones. So Amelia and then my nephew Finn, just, they're sharp. They're so fucking smart. They figure things out. And if I can I tell a funny story, actually, something that happened the other day. Amelia was still awake around 8:45 at night. I was working downstairs. And I'm like, this kid has to go to bed. Like, I had stuff I had to do. And I just kept hearing her talk. She was just talking to her little invisible friends. So I went up there and I said, do you want me to rock you for a little bit? Yeah. So we rocked. I said, okay, I'm going to put you back in your bed. I said, I'll lay on your floor for a bit. I had Gianna grab me the pillow from my room. And I'm like, this floor's too fucking hard. I got to go. I said, Amelia, I'm going to lay in the recliner. I fell asleep. Probably within a couple minutes. Dozed off for probably like 15 minutes. I woke up. Amelia's not there. There's a gate at her door, and she's gone. But in front of the gate, there's a basket of books. So she moved the basket of books, stepped on the books, to get over the gate. I'm like, she's probably in my bed.
All right.
So I walk into my room. She's not in the bed. Gianna's in the bed asleep. So I had to get her out of there. Still don't know where my youngest is. I walk downstairs. The front door I had left open and unlocked. And I have the storm door and the regular door. I'm like, there's no way this kid would have went outside. I said, let me go look in the kitchen and elsewhere before I go into full-blown panic mode. So I walk into the kitchen. I look into the living room. Michelle is passed out on the couch. Amelia's sitting at her feet watching Chicago PD on TV. And if you ever watch that show, it's fucking horrifying.
Right.
So I don't know how much she actually watched, just sitting there because the TV was on, you know, the light hitting the face, not really absorbing much. And I said, you snuck down here. She goes, yes. And I brought her back up and, you know, put her back into the bed, and she ended up going to bed at like 10 o'clock and did the same thing again today. She will use whatever tools necessary to get out of that room and climb over the gate. My brother-in-law said she would make Andy Dufresne, Tim Robbins' character in The Shawshank Redemption, very happy because he broke out of prison. So I'm like...
That's a spoiler.
There's a big spoiler. Yeah, it's a 90s movie. I think we're statute of limitations, right? It's not a statue. It's not a statue. Little Seinfeld reference. But I just find that fascinating that they're so good. She'll just use whatever material she needs to get to that next destination.
Well,
I find that unbelievable. Yeah. Unbelievable.
As determined as Ricky is in this episode. Yeah, the non-cartoon stuff's interesting. And like it's funny to me that they still use a lot of stereotypes, like this fat woman that's on the TV right now is like the cook, you know what I mean? And like it's interesting to me, like they you think they would have. It's not as stereotypical as like the shows when we were growing up, you know, with guys named Boner and everything else. But you know, but you do get some of that still, like you know, like just the tropey traits that they try and pin on the various characters and how they behave. It is a different world going from the cartoons to this stuff, and it's interesting when they make the transition. And you do worry a little bit because, like, I think she's in the age range for a show like this, but they do talk at a level kind of beyond where she is. Yep. You know, they're talking a little bit about liking girls and boys and, you know, stuff like that. So, like, I do worry a bit. But on the other hand, they're pretty tame. Like, there's no physical... In a way, they're almost, like, safer than cartoons.
And it was TV... Was it TVG or TV... Probably TVG, right?
Oh, it's definitely G.
Not TVY.
Why?
I remember at the beginning, I'm pretty sure it was G, but that's something too, that there's not a lot of stuff for these kids today that's rated G.
Right.
And my wife and I have constantly talked about that, even the Disney movies. And I've let Gianna, we watched Wonder Woman together years ago, and I had seen it before that. We watched it. She asked me questions throughout. And then and that was PG-13. She watched The Last Jedi with me, also PG-13. But I feel like stuff like that, I don't want to have her living in a bubble. I feel like, Star Wars and the superhero movies, like, they can get scary in some elements, but they're not overly graphic. They don't swear. And it's just a way, I think, to kind of, because I feel like with Gianna, sometimes very limited in what she watches, and I kind of want to broaden those horizons a little bit. And now she's starting to also, with food too, trying new things, movies and different shows, different foods even. So I think that's actually, a good thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a nice break from some of the cartoon stuff. And it is a sad goodbye to like some of the shows that they were super into, just because you get so used to them.
Yeah.
But like, even my son, he prefers YouTube. And he'll be, you really got to monitor because like there's some shit that seeps in there, but he is super into the Lego stuff. So he'll watch people just like opening Legos and assembling them. Like that's one of his big go-tos. He watches Ryan's toy review.
Yes, yeah. I think Amelia's watched that a few times.
This fucker's got a hustle going on. He's going to be on like Nickelodeon or something now. Like it was in Times Square. There was a sign for his show.
It's unbelievable.
And it's literally just this kid and his parents just like opening toys and like doing games and stuff. There's another family that does it too. I don't know. They live like in Hawaii or something. The guy's got long hair. And they always like open a toy or go on adventures. And some of it's interesting. But he's really into that, and he's been skewing more toward the superhero Lego stuff. And I'm a novice with comics and superheroes. I'm trying to get better, and I'm afraid he's gonna like lap me soon. So I'm trying to improve that. But he's gotten into Flash. That's the first one he's gotten into because there's like a show he watches, and like Lego Flash is like the
Lego Flash,
the one he's into. So. But there's also some ones where like they got them shooting guns and stuff, like stuff like that. Sure. The Legos and like so it's just. Again, it's, interesting in the borderline you have to watch because they navigate it so quick, especially YouTube where it autoplays show to show.
Yes. I know. I think I need that control a little bit too. And if I want to try to get them into something, I'll sometimes put it on when they're not in the room.
Right.
And Gianna will come in, like, that's how we got her into like the Night at the Museum movies, which she loves.
Right.
And it's the same with books too. She just gets in her, she just kind of gets in her own way. Like, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want that. Right. Okay. Have you tried it? And she did that with a book that she got for Christmas. It was a book that took place in the 60s, dealt with racism and all of this. And she's, I feel like, old enough to learn that. And we read the whole thing. It was like a 170-page book. We read it every night. And I think that's important just to kind of expose them to a wide variety of different texts and mediums. Of course, with, the supervision ahead of time, especially if you're going to have Alex watch, superhero movies or something like that.
Right. Yeah, we're not probably quite... He watched... like we've done Wreck-It Ralph, which I think is kind of a tick up from like the normal Disney stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So they're into those two. He rented the Lego movie from the library. So like I feel like that's a kind of a level up for him. So yeah, there's definitely movement there as far as that goes. Juliana also really likes like cooking shows. So she watches that show Nailed It on Netflix. I don't know if you've seen that.
I have not.
So they basically pick people who suck at baking. Okay. And give them hard assignments. All right. And like it's kind of a joke that they're all going to suck at it.
These are adults cooking or like kids
adults.
cooking?
No, it's adults.
They have the kids shows too.
It's an adult cooking show.
It's interesting, huh?
Yeah, so she's gotten really into that, so she'll watch that a lot. And he wants to do whatever she does, so he'll watch it even though he's not into it.
Yeah.
Usually works out because then he'll fall asleep.
That's follow the leader.
It's a good lead.
Gianna watches actually Property Brothers.
Really?
Property Brothers. She'll actually she was saying, I was talking about some like home improvement project. She goes, Daddy. She goes, if you got the Property Brothers here, they did this great thing. And she started going through the episode and telling me about, this pillar that they put in this house between the kitchen and like the living room. And in American Pickers that she's actually sat and watched with me and also my father-in-law. So it's funny the things that, and I just feel too, like whatever's on, she may just potentially sit and get engaged with at some point.
Right.
But I think it's just, again, that constant technology at their disposal, whether it's through
I did
YouTube,
see somewhere a Property Brothers like kids book.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Should look into that.
Get out of here. Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. It was like a cartoon. I thought so.
I'll have to
I'm
look at
imagining it. Well, hang on, because maybe I'll get it for her birthday next week.
This is awesome.
Children's book. Let's see. Yeah, right here.
Oh, Builder Brothers. Oh, yeah.
By Jonathan and Drew Scott.
Yeah, that's it. She loves them.
Amazon.
Loves them.
Talk to the wife tomorrow. I may order that for her.
Yeah, she finds them very fascinating.
Well, they're fascinating guys to look at because they're kind of they're visually exciting.
Yep.
Good looking guys. They're twins, so it's like there's that appeal there. They're magnificent, of course.
They're humorous.
Yeah, so they are humorous.
They're men, Justin. There's a little office.
They're real men. Not like us. They're not sitting here doing a show. They're on TV.
We're not men. But yeah, I think that's great. And I think that's something too. Like, I wouldn't mind if she watched a bunch of those because there's just a lot of like fluff and, ridiculous nonsense that comes across the television. So the educational things and, that will teach problem solving skills and, math and reading and language and all of these, things that exist on YouTube that I will have her, check out puzzles and all of that stuff.
By the way, Isaiah Thomas is on this episode of, not the old Isaiah Thomas, the current
Isaiah Thomas. I just saw the cardboard. So he makes an appearance?
He's right here. He's in it. That was him.
Right there he is.
Yeah, he's in front of the cardboard. So interesting get for Nicky, Ricky, Dicky, and Dawn to have Isaiah Thomas on. I guess it would be like when Reggie Theus would show up on like the shows.
Yeah, they used to get the big gets, right?
Yeah, the big ones.
But it is really funny, like as an adult now, to see how television has evolved from like the TGIF, which we always talk about. We were, but interestingly enough too, I feel like, and not to go too far off task, I feel like, my kids know about it, and even my students or high school students, like Full House has actually transcended. It really has. And I think that it's one of those too that like everybody knows about. It's like the Ferris Bueller.
Well, it's relatable. Who doesn't have a creepy uncle sleeping in their alcove with a puppet? Woodchuck puppet.
I'm not going to do that. If that's what you're trying to.
Come on.
You want me to do Mr. Woodchuck?
Yeah.
Did somebody say what?
There you go. See, still got it.
Yeah.
I think of him often when I hear Alanis Morissette songs.
Dave Coulier.
What's he doing today? Anything? Is he one of those guys that does like voiceovers on like 19 million cartoons? Like, you'll look
Yeah, I
someone
feel
up.
that. You know who's not working on that show anymore, though? Lori Loughlin.
That's right. Oh, is he on the new one? He's on the new one,
He's
right?
on Fuller House, yeah.
That's right. Yeah, okay. He didn't do much else before that.
No.
Just some voice work, like I said, and a lot of voice work, actually.
Mr. Gladstone.
God, what a godsend it was for that show for someone like him. He must have been thanking his fucking stars that show came back. Although they're done, right? Isn't this...
Yeah, this is it. It's coming up. Hopefully he saved his money from the... he gets probably the royalties, too, for the rest of his life.
I think my favorite Aunt Becky meme was the one with Michelle with the two guns saying, I'm going to break out Aunt Becky.
Oh, man.
What a fiasco.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
So I had one more topic now. So next weekend, when I mentioned your daughters, both of their birthday party, it's at a trampoline place.
Yes.
Kind of a hot topic these days, the
Oh, yeah.
trampoline places. What are you expecting? Are you expecting a okay or a fiasco?
Well, again, it depends with the invitations. You know, as we were talking about, you can't give out individual invitations to the kids you want like we used to do when we were younger.
Right. If you want,
And you didn't really get your feelings hurt. And I'm
Well,
not
you
trying,
did, but it was a good lesson.
Degree, but it was a good lesson.
learned.
It was a good lesson.
that no one likes you.
Yeah. But I also felt like they were very gender specific. I felt like I got invited to all the guys' parties. The girls got invited to the girls. So really people weren't getting their feelings hurt as much. Right. I can see it to an extent. But at the same time, I don't know. I don't know how many people we're going to get. But you also, as I mentioned, can't invite the whole fucking class either because there's a cap. Yeah. And you can't turn people
there's
away.
a cap how much you want to spend.
There's a cap how much I want to spend. Right. Exactly. And, you can't turn people away. But yeah, the trampoline part, we just didn't want to, I don't know. She's been asking for Bounce You. And I feel, at this stage of the game, she's going to be 8. She wants to do it. We can make it happen. Not that they get to always dictate. But it's, once a year. We had it at our house last year. We had a bunch of the kids over. She's been talking about this. It is a hot topic, hot place to go. This one, I guess, has a separate room for the party where, you're not going to have tons of kids.
No, it'll be limited.
Infiltrating from other
And what they
areas.
usually do is, because I've been to one there, so they move you through the rooms. They have like 2 rooms. Like they have one with all slides and then one with something. So you actually, the one I went to was like 20 minutes in one room, 20 minutes in another room, and then you go to the pizza room. It's not an actual trampoline park. It's more like a bouncy house setup. Whereas like it's not like a launch is like a
more like trampoline,
like a trampolines and the ball pit. And that tends to be the crazier spot. The one you're at is more. It's literally big bouncy slides and obstacle course, like stuff like that. Versus like they don't actually have trampolines. Actually, I read an interesting thing about the trampolines and how they're actually not that great.
Oh, really?
Because of like basically the way they're engineered, like how many, it's a decent sized percentage of how many people leave those with like broken bones, like kids and stuff.
Yep.
Because if they just land funny or whatever,
Sure.
or broken neck, broken arm, broken leg, stuff like that. So just be careful when you're at launch and you're.
That's why you always have to sign those fucking waivers.
Oh yeah,
they definitely don't have enough.
Ty Law doesn't want to fucking.
That's right. I forgot he owns the launch, right? Yeah.
I think it was his idea.
Yep.
We're on episode 3 here.
We've gone through 3 episodes.
Well,
of this?
we're starting
Oh
our
my
third
God.
one. This is season 4, episode 11. So we're nearing the end of the newest episodes. I don't know if they're getting renewed or not, or if this is the end of the road for Nicky, Ricky, Dicky, and Dawn. Let's see here.
I told you when you told me this the other day, I thought you were talking about a song I had never. And then when you put it up, I said, "Oh, maybe Gianna had this on once."
All right, so series was renewed for a 4th season. Now I was watching. It's funny. It says I was watching this episode as we're talking, and the kid who was playing Dicky, I didn't. I'm like, they had some other kid on, so I'm like, oh, they're just doing like a gimmick. But I'm reading here. It was announced that Mace Coronal, plays Dicky, would be leaving the show 5 episodes before the end of the 4th season on Nickelodeon. So, and then this is the last season, the 4th one. So the show's done. So
they replaced him, or they just went to Ricky, Dicky?
Well, yeah, they got this other kid. So I don't know if he's like they're just saying he's Dicky. And we got to put the it is G-rated. Yeah. I don't know if they're just fake because they figured 5 more episodes were done anyway. Who gives a shit? Or if it's supposed to, because how do you make a kid leave? I mean, it's not like they're college age.
Yeah, right?
So I'm guessing this is just like a new Dicky for like 5 episodes. Well, let's see. It may say it here. The third oldest and easygoing Harper, he ships himself to Australia and Quadcadile Dundee. So is that the one where he left?
He just puts himself in a box and goes to Australia?
Let's see if they have the episode breakdowns. Here we go. When famous basketball player Isaiah Thomas pays a visit to get sporty to sign his new shoes, Nicky, Ricky, Dawn, and Britt have to wait in line with everyone else to get signed shoes. That's all they have.
Oh, it says he's absent.
So they must have just said. They must have just talked about him. So whoever this guy Britt is, I don't know who that is, but he looks like he's the replacement. So they're not pretending he's Dicky.
Okay.
Jonah Huang. Is that him? It's got to be him. Anyway, Lou Ferrigno Jr. is in episode 13.
Oh, nice. So it's Nicky, Ricky, Dawn, and Britt now. Doesn't have the same ring to
That's
it.
sad. See, I didn't know about how this went down at the end. So this is the end of the show. Oh, here we go. Here's the full write-ups. I'm going to read this real quick on the Scott Criscolo track. Oh, no, we already read it. Never mind. So we're good. All right. Anyway, enough. But it's not the worst show. Like, there are some laughs in there if you get stuck watching it. And again, I think you'll enjoy the transition to the live action shows.
Live action stuff.
Off the cartoons. I mean, they're still into the cartoons, but we're definitely, like I said, moved up a level.
I want to ask you a question since you've actually watched some of these. And I haven't. If you had to liken this or compare this to something we had when we were younger, what would be like a comparable show there that we had?
It's like a Saved by the Bell type format.
Okay.
It's like I don't know, because I feel like we didn't really have like a younger version of Saved by the Bell, but it's along those lines. That kind of humor, just kind of a little bit quick. A lot of it's based in school.
Yeah.
I don't want to compare it to like Just the 10 of Us, because I feel like that's another level above this.
Yep.
That's a primetime type show. This is more
Just the 10 of Us. Wow.
This is more like a Saved by the Bell, where it's more like a syndicated show, where it's not like a primetime show. It's
it lived on in syndication, right? Yeah, because it got canceled, and then I think Punky Brewster was the same thing.
Yeah. It's like a Punky Brewster. It's like not as serious as Punky Brewster. There's another show, Liv and Maddie, that she watches. I'd compare more to Punky Brewster. They do a little bit more like serious stuff. Like in one of the twins in that show is a singer, and like she has like a thing where if she keeps singing, she might like permanently damage her voice. So it's like a serious episode. So they do stuff like that. This is a little bit more goofy. So I don't know if there's even a good comp for it. Because Saved by the Bell would get serious too. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to really compare it.
Yeah, I just wanted to see your thoughts.
Yeah, I don't have many. They're into like Christmas movies too. Like that's the one genre where they'll jump almost to that level. Like they're really into Elf, which I wouldn't say is definitely like a straight kids movie.
No, I actually got Gianna to watch that at Christmas too, and she actually watched one that they might like, and she's watched it a bunch of times on Netflix, The Christmas Chronicles with Kurt Russell.
Yeah, they
that was really good.
I didn't
inappropriate. I think that was like TV PG.
Right.
It was good.
I caught her watching. I think it was on Hulu. Has the old Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen like TV movies.
Oh God.
She was watching like Grandmother's House to Go.
Wasn't Jerry Van Dyke in that one? He was in one of them, wasn't he?
I think he was in that one. Yeah.
You got to give me a G's loop.
So anyway, all right. Any other topics you wanted to hit before we wrap up?
I think I touched upon them all. The lying, that was big. Just kind of recap. Of course, just the ridiculous things that set off the tantrums. Mm-hmm. I never know what it's going to be. I never know if I'm going to get Jekyll or Hyde. Sometimes I have to tread lightly. But I think it also comes back to one thing I didn't say as we wrap up. I think it's because she just wants to be this self-sufficient,
right? Yeah,
and that's what I think too. Like I can do everything myself now, and but instead of just stepping back and saying, "Hey, Daddy, let me try," it just goes immediately to like a level 10.
Right. All right. So I don't know when we'll be back. I can tell you at the end of the year we're doing a big family trip to Disney, like for like a week. So we'll have to record. We'll record after that. I'll be sure to be diligent with my note taking throughout that trip. But we'll be back before then, I think, this time. If you have any topic suggestions or mailbag questions, provide them to us on social media, and we will include them in the next episode. As we cut, it could be about anything. It could be about behaviors, experiences, media, like if there's a TV show, like we did the Disney Princess thing or Paw Patrol, if there's something you want us to check out and review, we're willing to do that too. Or if you know of any cool guests that we could get as well, like Ryan from Ryan's Toy Review, or Blippy, or Dicky, you find out why he left the show. Let us know. We can talk about those too. So, all right, for Don, I'm JT. We're out. We'll talk to you eventually. Until then, don't do anything stupid. We talk a lot of shit, but obviously we both enjoy greatly being parents.
We do.
We wouldn't trade it in. This is our venting session. It's our therapy, so let us have it. But until then, everyone take care. And always remember to be the Dawn to your Dicky. Talk to you later.